Hey guys, I'm Nick. We just got 2 kayaks in from Old Town. Now, we usually get 7 to 8 a year, brand new ones from Old Town. The first 2 came in. Old Town actually corporately sponsored Navarre Kayak Fishing this year, not me, the actual business, which is awesome. It's going to go a long ways for us. So we're outside in the garage. That one's still wrapped up. I just pulled the plastic off this. If you receive these kayaks through shipping chains, make sure you pull the plastic off and inspect them. I already inspected them. Everything was good with the delivery service here. I'm going to show you how we set these kayaks up out of the box. Now, if you buy it at a store, your local shop, it'll already be rigged up and ready for you, and I highly recommend you do that. It'll stop any shipping damages you may find or anything like that. So, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to do it. It's simple. You're going to need a flathead, a Phillips head, and something, whether a pocket knife or a pair of pliers to cut a whole bunch of zip ties. It's pretty much all the tools you need. Not much to it. It's easy. So, let's go. All right, the very first thing you're gonna do, because I watch this happen all the time, people ask questions, you're gonna remove this wooden bar. It's held in by 2 Phillips head screws, one here and one over there. On this wooden bar though, there are 2 screws. See these 2 screws that are attached to this tape right now? Oh, fail. All right, they're attached to this tape. We're just gonna set them right here. Those 2 screws go in these holes. They're a part of your seat mechanism, the slide, and you want to put them in there. You don't want any kind of salt or corrosion getting in down. That little brass insert's not good. You don't want it. So, fast forward, remove this. All right, once this is removed, it's garbage. Do whatever you want to do with it. No big deal. But you take these screws, make sure you don't cross thread anything. Put it right down there in the hole that those screws are in. And just tighten it down. You don't got to torque it crazy. It's not needed. Boom. That's step 1. Let's move on to step 2. All right, step number 2. We're going to pull this seat out. Put it wherever you got to put it from now. It's not needed. The next thing in here is the drive. It's still wrapped up. We're going to fast forward, get it unwrapped real quick. All right. Once she's unwrapped, just do her a quick look over. Everything looks fantastic. Inside here, you will have your paddle holder that goes on the outside and the knob for your steering wheel. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. After that, just close her up, and you're going to grab this bar, which comes right here, already installed. When you have this bad boy, these nuts are already going to be loose. You're going to slide this through here like so, and set it in place. Now, take the time up there to line it up good. Make sure it's in the center. Use a ruler if you have to, or some kind of tape measure. Then tighten it down. That way, when you finally hit the water, you don't have any problems with it being straight. It's easy. There's not much to it. Take the time. Do it correctly. All right, once you put the drive in place with the bar, remember, it's not tight, so slide back and forth like so. Get it in the middle. Tape measure, whatever you got to use, right? Just line it up. Make sure it's good. I'm just going to wing it. Just for now, make it quick, but take the time, make sure it's good. Then you just tighten these things down. You don't need to tighten them down too much, anything crazy. If you go too tight, you'll just strip out that nylock nut. I'll tell you, sometimes the nuts on these things aren't very good, but they last all year without any kind of issues, and we use them far more than you guys will ever use them. Then just tighten these guys down, make sure there's no problem. If they are too tight, you can use an Allen wrench that's provided and loosen these, but I haven't seen it. Now we're going to move on to the next step, but it still involves the drive. We're going to take a wrench and we're going to tighten these down. Remember, I talked about it in the previous video of maintenance. Sometimes if these pedals aren't all the way tight, and if they have any kind of wiggle in them, then they will loosen. They will end up shredding the whole inside of these threads right here, and this pedal will fall out. Take a few minutes, pull out a wrench, tighten that down. You won't have any issues. Now, these next 2 steps are really a little overkill, but they're going to prevent you from having any problems in the future, so I recommend you do it. It's quick, it's easy. It doesn't really take any time. It's going to really stop any problems in the future, especially when you're 2 miles from the beach or somewhere, nowhere near the landing. You don't want these pedals to fail. You're going to need an Allen wrench. Let me double check the size on this bad boy. It is a 5/32 just to make sure. The right side is lefty-loosey, the left side is righty-loosey, so keep that in mind. That side is reverse threaded. Then you're just going to put it in here, pull this pedal off real quick, like so, nothing to it. Now, I recommend you just get out a box end wrench or whatever you got, go over here, and then just make sure it's tight. Oops. Boom. Sometimes they're loose It's going to cause problems, and you don't want that. Like we talked about before, it'll ruin those threads. When you're done, just reinsert the pedal like so. If you plan on upgrading your pedals, obviously this is a fantastic time to do so. I don't see a reason to do that, but everyone has their preference, and some people just like their pedals to match their bungees. After you're done with this pedal, we're going to move forward and we're going to talk about the propeller. So let's move the camera, we'll get down there, and I'll show you how to make sure you have no corrosion issues with your shear pin. So the next step is super simple. We're going to use this wrench. Obviously we make these in the back room on the 3D printers. You're going to take off the prop. Now you're going to do this whether you fish fresh or saltwater, okay? Corrosion is still, corrosion happens. All right, doesn't matter if you fish fresh or salt. You're going to pop that thing off there like so. Here's your shear pin, right? Nothing to it. I've been using the same one for 4 years. We've been using this same product for 4 years. You're going to give it a shake. And we're just going to spray this all over the shear pin. I'll just toss it in this cap and do it. Oh, fail. Still failing. Still failing. All right, we're just going to toss it in this here cap. I'm going to give it a little spray. I don't want to get my hands all dirty, all right? What's going to happen is it's going to dry. It's going to become tacky. Once it becomes tacky, you can just slide it back on here like so. Doesn't take long. Once I put it back in there, I always spray some extra on there. The idea is you want to make sure you get it coated good. It doesn't matter what you get on there, okay? It's irrelevant. Then you just take this guy, make sure it's indexed correctly, toss it back down there. It'll do a little pop like that. Take your screw or your nut, put it on here like so. Now you don't need to hawk out and tighten this super tight. As soon as that washer stops moving, it's good to go. So keep that in mind. Don't sit here and try to torque it hardcore. Just enough that the washer's not moving. Boom, nothing to it. This stuff goes a long way. I've had this can for definitely 4 years. I have probably, we've owned 30 plus different VIN numbers of the PDLs. And yeah, still use the same can. It's gonna last you forever. I'll put a link below in the description. You can pick it up on Amazon or at your local marine store. I think I brought mine at O'Reilly's, the parts store down the road. We'll move on to the next section. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna install the seat. There's nothing to it. These little guys come, but for some reason they fall off like so. You just get them lined up. They just slip on here like there and like this. You set it in place, pull up, slide it on there, nothing to it. You get all this stuff adjusted how you want from the water. So a bunch of these things, it's just facts for if it was in the store. You don't need to keep it, there's nothing to it, just cut it off and throw it in the garbage. Now we'll come over there and we'll install the paddle holder and the steering knob for the steering wheel. All right, this is the package that was inside the pedal system. This brochure right here is just going to give you some information about the kayak. You can read over that. It's going to talk to you about replacing the prop pin and stuff like that. It has the warranty information in there. If you're not familiar with it, you should read it. When you go to dump this out, be careful. There's extra shear pins in here. You don't want to lose them. Like so. In this package, here's the Allen wrench that comes with the stuff to adjust all these little locking mechanisms for the pedal system. So don't lose that. You may need it if you don't already have one. Here's the steering knob. Here's the paddle holder. We'll install the paddle holder first. This is what secures your paddle to this bad boy. Just gonna set it up here. I like to put mine down. We don't actually use this as a paddle holder, but I don't like these holes being exposed. Put this down, that way it's just gravity fed. You can just pull it up if you need it. These two screws just pop in place. Now these inserts are brass, so make sure you don't cross thread anything when you're working on it. But nothing to it. Once again, you don't need to torque this stuff down hardcore. If you do, you're just gonna cause problems for yourself. Get in there. I've mentioned it a ton of times in the past. I'm not a big fan of this. It kind of goes down at an angle. Offshore, it gets hit by waves for us and all kinds of stuff. And sometimes a fish will dart down the side of the kayak. And now your line's on the inside of the paddle. Not a fan. I do not like it. So we keep our paddles across here. They lay flat in that front left corner without any kind of issues. If you have questions about that, I'll post a video and show you guys that stuff at a later time. Here's the knob that's going to give you tension for your steering situation. Nothing much to it. This guy already has yellow Loctite on it. He just slips down here like so. You're going to put the, oops, almost messed up. You're going to put this guy on here first. That's the tension knob. Just slide him down. And then you're going to pull this guy out. Give it a nice little whatever. Now remember, don't over torque it. If you ever need to pull it off there, you don't want to have any issues. As soon as it spins and catches, it's done. This guy comes on here and just pops in place like so. Now you got this rudder still taped so it won't move. This tension knob is useful on the 2020s. 2019 and prior, you had a nut on the rudder, which we'll talk about later, that's not there anymore. So you have to control your tension here instead of back there. I preferred the metal rudder. I preferred the ability to tighten it from the rear. However, you can no longer do that on the 2020s or going forward. It works well. Change is different, you know, it's not a big deal. It does do a great job. Let's move backwards. Make sure you don't lose the shear pin they provide you. It's nice to have a backup. I recommend putting this in a Ziploc bag with some of that corrosion protection. Spray it in there. Keep this on the kayak. That way, if anything fails, you can pull out your little floating wrench, you can pull out your shear pin, and you are good to go. All right, once you get back here towards the rudder, your scupper plugs are going to be right here with the zip tie. Just cut those off like so. I don't really use them very much. They supply you with a whole bunch of them. You can see them. I'm going to leave them there for now so we can move on. There's 8 holes that go in there. I don't like to use them. I like to let everything go out, especially when we're offshore and stuff. We get a lot of cut bait and stuff like that, and it just smells terrible if it gets down to the scupper plugs. Right here, though, this is your warranty information, right? This is your registration. You need to take this, you need to go on their website and register your kayak. It just makes it easier in case anything happens. There's nothing to it. Don't lose it or misplace it, okay? Now, once we get back here, here's your rudder. Sometimes this box is a pain in the butt to get off. Just take your time. Don't try to break anything. Don't stick any knives in there. You'll end up cutting a little rubber band bungee thing, and that wouldn't be any good. So we're going to fast forward and we'll pull this bad boy off with a knife. Well, so much for being a pain in the butt. Came off soup. It's not recording? It's not recording? It is recording. You're like shaking your head like it wasn't. Alright, so they came off a whole lot easier than it was supposed to, but I'm okay with that. Just use a knife, pull out these styrofoam blocks, and then pop this bungee off of there. She's good to go. Now this is the new rudder, obviously for 2020. It came out of ICAST last year. The nice thing about this wire is you can use this turnbuckle system and tighten it down. That's nice. It'll take any play out of here. Now there used to be a nut down here that's no longer there, and that's why I told you that tension knob on steering wheel is so important, okay? Nothing to it, plastic. It has a handle back here. I know I talked about it a few months ago, probably 6 or so, where I wasn't a big fan of that. We haven't had any problems with it. Fortunately, I still do prefer the metal one, I guess, deep down inside, because I've bent the metal ones a few times and always bent back, whereas this, if it bends too far, it's probably going to snap. But we haven't had that problem, so I'm happy. It's done a great job. I've carried it by that. I've drugged the kayak by that. It's actually really, really strong, so no complaints on that. Still has your shallow water anchor, power pole back here, power pole mount. I don't ever use that, drain plug, and so on. But that stuff's already set up for you, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I missed anything. If I did miss anything, it wasn't anything important, okay? I know I was spaced another way, so it probably would have been hard to hear me in the audio. If you guys have any questions, just drop a comment, let me know. I just wanted to give you guys a quick walkthrough on how to do it. I know a ton of guys are in the market, you're buying them, you're gonna order some of them online. I recommend you buy it local. You cut out any kind of shipping damages, you cut out any kind of problems, and you build a relationship with your local dealer. That way, if you have any warranty issues, it's very, very easy to resolve. Have any questions? Let me know. Thanks for watching.